Hi, I'm Nikki Lowe and welcome to the Wisdom for Working Mums podcast show, where I share insights and interviews that support women to combine their family, work and life in a more successful and sustainable way. Let me kick things off with a question that's been on my mind a lot as a working mum. What's your relationship like with technology? If I'm really honest, it's probably the worst relationship I have in my life. It's a love-hate relationship. It's both a blessing and a curse. As a business owner, it allows me the convenience and flexibility of running my business around my family. But, and it's a big but, technology often plays the role of the relentless disruptor in my life. It interrupts our precious family moments, distracts us when we're trying to focus, and sometimes leaves us feeling like we're never really off the clock. From constant email notifications during dinner to the irresistible lure of social media, tech can cast a shadow on our work-life balance. And I know, for one, it's time to tackle this relationship. And if you feel it's time for you too, then to help us navigate this, I'm joined today by a true expert in the field. Stephanie Henson, the founder of the digital wellbeing company techtimeout. With a deep understanding of technology and its impact, Stephanie is dedicated to combating digital burnout and promoting digital wellbeing. She uses her background, specialising in web, software and digital transformation, to promote and foster healthy and sustainable approaches to technology use, enhancing collaboration, productivity and overall health and well-being in organisations across the UK and beyond. Stephanie's passion lies in creating a positive and balanced relationship between individuals, organisations and technology to create thriving work environments. And Stephanie is here to shed light on the impact of technology on us as working mums and share valuable insights into how to maintain a healthier relationship with our digital companions. So if you're ready to tame the digital beasts in your life, come join us for this judgement-free conversation. So welcome, Stephanie. Thank you so much for joining me. I can't wait to dive into this conversation because it feels like a really, really important one.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks for having me.
So for those that don't yet know about you and your work, can you tell us a bit about really your journey and what's inspired you to create techtimeout?
Absolutely. So techtimeout was born from me starting to question my relationship with technology. So my background is in technology. So I co-founded and still today run a tech company. We do all sorts of digital transformation projects for companies. During the process of building that company, I was breaking all the rules. So all of the things that we're probably going to cover today in terms of really negative habits that you can fall into very easily, I was doing. So I was checking my emails all hours in the day. I was working 7-day weeks. I was working 15, 16-hour days, sleeping sort of 3 hours a day. I was not taking care of myself very well. I wasn't eating well. I wasn't exercising very much. I was constantly stressed. I was constantly distracted, and I was constantly trying to figure out the world of entrepreneurship and what this looked like, and clients and deadlines and finances and all of the things that you need to learn when you're wearing lots of hats in a small organization. And unfortunately, it led to me burning out. And I woke up one day and I couldn't get out of bed, and I just couldn't. I just couldn't. I couldn't think. I was looking at my emails and I didn't know how to respond to them. And I just went through this period of challenge where I was just going, okay, how do I? And my default was to just keep going, right? Just kind of spend a bit longer on the email, spend a bit longer. And eventually I just had to stop because I just couldn't. And it was during my recovery when I really started to question how I was using technology. So I was using all this tech to try and help and support the business and me, but actually it was completely ruling my life. And the kind of tipping point is I remember having lunch with my sister, and my 3-year-old niece grabbed my iPhone, and she could take selfies. And I was like, wow, I didn't have a smartphone, until I was about 18 or 19. Whereas now a 3-year-old knows how to take a selfie. And that really shocked me, and I thought, wow, okay, there's something here. And then I thought around the need for Tech Time Out. The name was born. I bought the domain, and yeah, fast forward a couple of years, and that now we're working with organisations all over the world, mainly in the UK, but we are now branching out overseas, and we're really trying to balance and support people, workplaces, families, in universities, in the education system, to really think and question the relationship with technology and how they can use it in a very intentional way that is positive for their well-being instead of potentially negative.
And I think the world has never needed what you're offering with Tech Time Out more. So thank you for kind of coming up with the idea. And I'm sorry you had that experience that led to it. As somebody that's a fellow burnout survivor, I know how painful that experience can be. So, but how you've used that then to really help others and help the world to not get to that place.
Yeah. It's, I think it's a journey. I think sometimes you do have to, it takes that experience sometimes to give you the realization, when things aren't that bad, you just sort of, I'll just deal with it. But actually, I think when you start questioning some of these topics and being self-reflective, which we're not very good at because there's always something to do nowadays, you don't get much undisrupted time to just sit and think. Boredom isn't really a thing, because we just grab our phones. So it is only when you start to do some of these asking yourself some of these tough questions that you really do start to unpick and uncover kind of what works for you as an individual. And there's no right or wrong. I'm very, very conscious that what works for someone definitely does not work for someone else, and that's fine. Everyone's unique in the way that they do things and in their relationship with technology. Some people are really high screen users but have a better digital well-being than someone who never uses it, but they use it and it controls the way and it doesn't make them feel good. So it's all very individual.
So that's really useful to kind of understand the journey you've been on, and I can now understand why you're so passionate about this. And I'm just wondering, if we set the context of this, what do you think are some of the most common challenges that are happening in today's digital world? And I suppose particularly for my audience who are working mums.
So I think that the balance between work and life is now very blurred. Mm-hmm. So where you used to, have the commute and have the childcare issues, with the balancing of, now you've got hopefully some working mothers have this more flexible environment where they can do the school run and they have the flexibility to log on a bit after if they need to, do a couple of things or whatever it might be. But what this can create without very careful boundary is just, you're always on, right? You're never switching off, because you're first thing in the morning, you've got to sort the kids and get them to school, and then you're at work and you've got your work hat on, but then you've also got to think about all the other things that you might be also carrying in terms of that mental load that still a lot of women, I know it's not everyone, but a lot of women still carry that in terms of some of the other things that happen, all the life admin stuff, all the house stuff, that kind of goes on, and then you're coming home and then you've still got work on your mind and you've not got that sort of switch off. So I think the work life and always on battle is even more prominent, I think, with working mothers, and the job demands that you may have to progress in your career. You may feel that guilt of where should you be spending your time and your energy. I think one of the big things that we see a lot, and I see a lot, is the guilt of taking self-care. So self-care is so important, to take that time for ourselves to reset and to recharge ourselves in whatever way that works for us as individuals. But when you've got all of these responsibilities, you can sometimes feel a bit guilty for going and, needing to go and have a massage or go for a walk or go and have a coffee with a friend and actually leave all of that, big to-do list at home. And so I think generally people don't, and that's the first thing to go. I think when we're very busy, I'll just go for that later, or I'll just skip it this week and I'll do it next week instead. And that's a bit of a slippery slope, I think, when you stop prioritizing. But it's difficult because you have got all of this stuff, so it's not going to go away. Often I know a lot of us think, well, no one else is going to do it. If I don't do it, well, it's just going to sit there and it's just going to come back. It's the same, when you go on holiday and you come back to a barrage of emails, so you just keep an eye on your emails when you're on holiday and you never switch off. It's all of these same battles that we've got, where tech is now everywhere and connectivity is now everywhere. So, and where's the off button? I think those are the key areas. But what it can lead to is tech overuse, where we're using tech for our personal life, we're using it for our work life, and that the impacts of those are not always very easy to identify, in terms of, I'm feeling very tired today, or my mood's a bit low. You don't always necessarily quickly associate that with the fact that you were scrolling until 1 a.m. last night, or the fact that you've not actually done anything for yourself in the last 3 weeks because you've been so busy, wearing all these hats and juggling everything. And so I think that's one of the issues, another kind of key issue that people have.
And I think everything you've said is so relatable. I know I'm sitting kind of here nodding away, and I'm sure other people listening are too. And I think it's important to say, and you're really, really clear on this, that you're not here to judge somebody's kind of digital use. And I know for kind of one, I wouldn't be able to be a working mum without the support of technology, both for me and my kids. But I am trying to find a better balance with it, because that balance between technology, work and family. So I'm just wondering if you can share from your experience and from the data, what are some of the impact to family dynamics and our relationships with excessive screen time?
Yeah, and like you say, it's not. We all do this, right? There are all times where we just need some time, and we give them an iPad because you just need that time, or you just just go and watch TV. I just need to cook dinner, or just do that, right? So we all do it, and it's a great tool, right, for you when you need those moments. It's absolutely great.
Well, it's interesting. I was talking to a psychologist the other week on this podcast, and she said, and it was so beautiful for her, saying, do you know what? She's a single mum with 3 kids and she works full time. And she says, I use screen time as a babysitter. It stops the children squabbling and it keeps them occupied while I need to do work. And just hearing her say that, my nervous system went, so even she does it, and it's just normalizing. It's part of our lives now.
Exactly. And it is. And there is, the argument, for the fact that they are going to need to know how to use tech. Tech's everywhere. It's not something you can shy away from or not let them have. They need to know how to use these pieces of tech. And there's lots of great things that can, that Tech for Good, so many amazing applications and educational videos and learning and playful videos on YouTube, and all of these amazing things that are on there. So absolutely. Definitely, there's lots of uses for good for tech with families, especially for working mums who are juggling lots of things. 100%. Some of the challenges that this can cause is around that reduced quality time. That and replacing screen time with historical, maybe bonding activities. So instead of having a family dinner where everyone's at the dinner table together and eating and having that kind of community time at the end of in the evening, that being replaced with screen time at the dinner table every day can reduce that time that people may have historically had more bonding and time together. One of the areas that I think is quite common is we're all very familiar with the stroppy teenager stereotype who's on their phone all the time, and they don't answer because they're so in their phone. But how many times can we actually hold our hand up and say, I actually do that too, as an adult, and that modeling behavior where if the parent is on the phone all the time, that's modeling a behavior for children. And if your boundaries with your tech are maybe blurring a little bit, then that could also be the case for your family and for your children. And so that could be an area of concern, or it could be something that you feel is balanced with what you're looking for. So like I said earlier, there's no right or wrong, but there are definitely impacts to over, excessive use of tech in the family. And a lot of the stats that are coming out is it's still very early, right, in terms of the screen time against kind of mental and physical health. But there is a lot of case studies now coming out and lots of research from various different universities showcasing very, very scary stats in terms of increased screen time for young people and development of anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues. So with all of these things in mind, it's, like I said, there's no right or wrong, but there might be ways that we could all, be a bit more conscious of our use of tech and be thinking about the impact that does have on others. And it's the same in the workplace. So if your boss is always emailing you at 2 a.m, so every day you're like waking up to a barrage of emails, what impact does that have? And it's exactly the same at home. If everyone's always on their phones, that kind of, you're trying to have a conversation maybe with your partner or a child, and they're just ignoring you because they're so on their phone. They're not really in the conversation. They're just sort of there, but they're not actually paying that much attention. And then that then can cause, frustration with the person that's trying to maybe convey something important. And so we get these kind of communication breakdowns, which we know can be quite disruptive to a family dynamic that could be resolved if everyone just go, right, tech time out. Let's have a quick chat. You can go on your phone in a minute, that, but let's just have a meaningful, dinner time or a meaningful conversation about our day or whatever that might be. I don't know if everyone else has seen, but the kind of graphic of parents in bed and they're both like lying away from each other, looking at their phones, and you kind of think, God, how common is that now for lots of couples where they are in bed and they're not communicating with each other, they're not talking, they're literally just scrolling through, various different social feeds. So I think all of these things play a part. And just the final impact is sleep. So the stats on the importance of sleep, I don't think we need to go through. I think we all know that sleep is really important. If you're having a bad day and you've not slept well the night before, it's 10 times worse than it would have been if you'd have had a decent night's sleep. So I think if we're logging on after the kids have gone to bed every night and we're not then having some decent, separation, if we're going from screen to lots of jobs, so, cooking dinner, to then back on the screen, to then maybe watching a bit of TV before bed, before a quick scroll to see if you've just missed an email, these kind of habits, that's naturally going to have a huge impact on your sleep. And it's one of these things that you don't really realize until you might maybe start to change some of these behaviors and then notice that you're not feeling as tired, or you're thinking a bit more clearly the next day. So yeah, overall well-being is sleep is always a good place to start.
And I think what you've said again is so relatable. And I've heard you kind of say a couple of times that there's almost like this creep that you don't necessarily notice it until you change these behaviours. So what might be some of those warning signs? You've alluded to some of them already, but what might be some of the warning signs that we're struggling with technology-related stress or addiction?
So I think if you, a good kind of place to start is think about the things that you've kind of not got to yet. So, those things on your list that you never seem to be able to get to. And then think about how much time they might take to do, and then just go and have a little look at your screen time. I think it's always a good starting point. So on both Apple and Android have got like screen time checks. If you haven't enabled the functionality, that's a really good thing to do. And then if you go and check that and you actually see that you're spending, I don't know, 4 or 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever it might be, a day, in addition to the time that you're spending on a screen, if you're, working on a laptop. And then it's not, yourself will know if you're comfortable with that. So you might look at it and go, oh yeah, that's about right. I needed to do all that stuff. There's nothing that I could change there. But if you can see that actually there's 2 hours a day on some social channel, and you're feeling overwhelmed, and you're feeling like you're not quite getting through your to-do lists, and you're feeling a bit, you're not feeling great, then that could be a good place to just experiment with trying to proactively reduce that time. That's not saying to cut it out completely. We all love a good doom scroll. We all like to go and have a look at what's going on and be updated with friends and family and what's happening. But one of my key tips for managing that is to time block it. So you go, right, I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes. I'm going to just sit here with a cup of tea. I just want to not think about anything. I just want to sit and scroll for 20 minutes. That's fine. There's go for it. We all do it. We all need to, we all do that. But maybe just controlling it so it's a bit more mindful that you're going to spend 20 minutes doing it, because how easy is it to go, oh, I'll just check this. And then you end up on your phone and you're like, I don't even know how I ended up on this app.
When you do that, because I think that's so important, because once you start scrolling, I mean, these devices are designed to keep you in them, aren't they? So you lose track of time. Do you set a timer? Like, do you have like habits or strategies that you implement that help control that?
Yeah, so I have in the device sort of built in, you can set timers on how much time you want to spend on different apps on a daily basis. So I have an hour a day on social, for example, but obviously LinkedIn gets included in social. Which again, it's social, but it's also work. So then you get into this balance where, well, it's kind of work. Well, is it? Are you actually, So, but yeah, so I have an hour for me personally. I have an hour a day, and then once I get close to that, it gives me a warning, and once I'm over it, it kind of says you've reached your limit, and you can override it. But it's a good reminder to say, I've spent quite a lot of time on this today. And then it will kind of continue to pop up. So that's a really good tip, is to just think about what you're comfortable with, like review where you're currently at. If you're comfortable with that, then great. If you're not, and you're thinking, actually, maybe I could actively try and spend a bit less time on Facebook or on Instagram or whatever your preferred social choices, or it might even not be a social channel. Lots of people, WhatsApp, let's just talk about WhatsApp for a minute. WhatsApp is brilliant and everyone uses it and it's great. But if you end up in a few group chats, it could be, lots of mums have group chats, don't they, with different schools or clubs or bits and pieces. How many notifications do these chats produce? And one of my key tips is mute everything. Just put them on mute and take control back of when you check your messages, because now we're in a time where communication is so easy, but there's also so many different means of communication. So, you can text, you can email, you can WhatsApp, you can send messages on all of the various different social media channels. You can actually phone, there's all these different, you can video chat, all of these different ways. But what it means is that every time that someone wants to get hold of you, they've got instant access to you, because they're going to ping you. Your phone's going to ping. You're going to look at it. It's going to distract you from what you're trying to do. On average, it takes 23 minutes to get back on track once you've been distracted. So you're right in the middle of something. Someone pings you about, shall we meet at 9:00 on Saturday? Completely, that does not need an immediate answer, does it? It can wait. So that can wait until a bit later when you've blocked out some time to go and check your messages. So that's another thing that I do, is I turn off my notifications for WhatsApp. So I don't actually see the notifications come through, and then I just go and check it. So periodically throughout the day, I'll just go and have a look, see if there's anything there that I need to check. Usually I use that dead time, in between meetings, when you're like 5 minutes before the meeting, can't really do anything because you can't really get into anything. If you start something, I'm going to get lost and miss, I'm going to be late to the meeting. But yeah, that sort of time where you can't really do anything else, that's a great time to check messages.
I'm the same actually with WhatsApp, and it surprises me how people still have their notifications on, because literally, the amount of notifications that you could have pinging you in a day is really important. But it's interesting, as you were talking, I used to have screen time limits set, and I don't know why. I don't know if I got a new phone, and I don't know, but it's just reminded me I no longer have that. I used to, like you, for social media. So if people haven't found this, it's basically in your settings function, isn't it? And I use an Apple. So if you go into settings, there's a screen time function, and you can, as you say, set it for different, whether it be socials, entertainment, whatever the different functionality is, you can set your boundaries, which, as working mums, we know the importance of boundaries. We talk about it all the time, but bringing that into the tech piece, I think, is so important. So what you're doing, I just absolutely love. So what other tips or strategies would you recommend alongside that? Are there any other apps or habits or things that either you or you recommend your clients and organizations use?
Yeah. So key ones is around introducing a tech-free zone or a tech-free time. So thinking about, you can get a box, it doesn't need to be anything fancy. We do have sort of tech time out boxes on the website, but you can use anything. You could use a cardboard box, you could use a Lego box, it doesn't really matter what it is. And something where you have that like mindful, okay, let's disconnect and let's go and do something without our phones. Let's just not touch them for a bit and go and do something else. It doesn't need to be for long. It could just be for 20 minutes, just to have that regular disconnect that actually you forget how, if you go and do something like you're, I don't know, out hiking or out walking, or for me, it's all very like, when I'm hiking, I feel very zen. I'm like, suddenly my mind's clear. I can think through the challenges of things that I've got. I'm resolving like things. I'm feeling, all of that kind of mental reorganization. For me, that works. If I'm in the middle of the day, I've got my phone going, I've got meetings, I've got screens going, I've got lots of stuff that I'm doing. There's no way that that's going to be the best time for me to achieve any like really good thinking or really good collaboration with other people. So I think having that defined tech zone I think is a really good one.
So important, because as you were talking again, Stephanie, what I was thinking is we've recently got dogs again. We used to have dogs. They got old and we unfortunately lost them. And I've been waiting until my youngest was old enough for us to introduce puppies back into the family. And so I love going out for a walk. We live on a farm. But what I found is I get my phone out to take a picture or a video because they're so cute. And then I start scrolling as I'm walking and I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? Like it's creeping into this like almost sacred time. And unless I'm really, really conscious and mindful of it, it's almost seeping into that.
Yeah. We have tech time out pouches that you put your phone in now. And again, you don't need to, they're on the website, we don't need to buy them. You can just use a sock, right? So just use something that creates a bit of a barrier to your phone, because when you go to pick it up, you have to really think about why you're picking it up. What for? What do you need to check? What do you actually have something that you need to do? Now, I use my phone as, I've got notes. I've got a widget on my phone that's my notes widget. So I go, okay, I need to write that note. I write that note and I go, I'll just check my messages and I'll just check my email. Like I find I'm literally at my laptop, but I'm using my phone to check emails. What am I doing? And it's just a habit of how used we are to using these devices for these different activities. So I think having some sort of physical barrier in between. So Mind Over Tech have a challenge where they just say to put a Post-it note on your screen. So it just stops, it stops all the attraction to all of the different applications and notifications that might be on there. And then the other sort of key tips are, so charging your phone on the other side of the room, or so having it away from you. So, you can still use it as an alarm clock or go and buy an alarm clock, which is one of those things that I always sort of say, like, we can just buy a physical alarm clock or use an Alexa or something that doesn't need to be your phone. So it's not next to you. And I think if you can try and get some tech-free time before you go to sleep and before you wake up, I know it's not always easy. And you're not always going to do it, right? So, but don't beat yourself up if you don't, but just as a something that we strive to do. I think that's a really good habit to try and build in. I think the other thing is recognizing that sort of balance between using technology and actually having some time with other people. So, as working mums, that there can be some of these feelings of isolation if you're by yourself, even though you've got tech and tech is supposed to have made us closer to everyone. It can actually have the opposite effect and make us all feel quite isolated. So really looking at that, at your schedule and making sure that you're finding time for real connectivity with other people so that you can, discuss your issues. You can just have a chat. You can go and have a laugh. You know, how much does a laugh just make us feel better when we're having a giggle about something? So just really, really making time and trying to find that time for yourself. And it's not always easy, but it's going to be better to take it away from the time that you're spending, you know, doom scrolling than it is to take it away. That, you know, that might be an easier way to take, an easier place to take it from, because obviously lots of hats that we're juggling. And the final piece I'd say is around maintaining that boundary, but first deciding what that boundary looks like for you. So are you currently happy with the way in which you're using technology? And a way to think about this is, if I were to ask you what your relationship is with technology in one word, what would your answer be?
God, mine would be bad at the moment. Hence why I wanted to have this conversation.
Yeah.
It's a love-hate relationship. It's like, I love that you give me freedom and flexibility, but I hate how you've crept into every part of my life.
Yeah. And I think once you've answered that, you can start thinking about, okay, so what changes can I make? Like, can I, like you say, set the app limits back up on my phone, move it away, you know, set up a tech-free zone, and set up some time in the diary where you're doing activities that don't involve technology. You know, do you need, for me, you know, when I'm at work, I don't get my best ideas when I'm in front of a screen. I need a notepad and a garden. You know, I need to go outside and just get my ideas down, and then come back to the screen and get them written up. And for that again, but that's just me. Other people will have different ways and different constraints of what they can and can't do. But you know, there is definitely a reason why people have the best ideas in the shower, right? It's the time when you're not being consistently distracted and interrupted. Having that, like, creating this space and holding this space for yourself that doesn't involve all of the things that other people want you to do, so that you can actually do the stuff that you want to do, will generally just make us feel a bit more in control.
So agree with that. Like, couldn't agree with it more. And that leads me really nicely on to actually this campaign that you've got coming up. Could you tell us about Tech Time Out Tuesday, please? And how that came
absolutely.
about.
So we have Tech Time Out Tuesday is the Tuesday after Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So it's at the end of November, on the 28th of November. And the aim of the campaign is to really raise awareness of digital wellbeing and the importance of being conscious of the way in which we're using our technology. So we're in partnership this year with Mental Health First Aid England. We're all very, very conscious of the impact that tech is having on our mental health. And so we're very, very pleased to be in partner with them this year. And we're launching, we've already launched, so you can sign up on the website. It's completely free to sign up. And the idea of the day is to take some time away from your technology. It doesn't need to be all day. It could be 30 minutes. It could be an hour. It could be half a day, depending on what you want to do. And there's various different activities that you can do. We've got a few ideas in the resource pack that you can download from the website, or you can do whatever you want to do yourself, like meeting up with friends or going and doing an activity with colleagues or whatever it might be, going and doing something as a family that doesn't involve technology. So that the aim of the day is to really just raise awareness to this issue and to get us all thinking a little bit around what is our relationship with technology and are we happy with it. And that's a good start in terms of just having that disconnect and seeing how you feel. A lot of people, when they disconnect, it can actually create a bit of anxiety around missing out and not being able to see. So that's a bit of a journey in itself. So this is something that we really want to get out there and help as many people as possible to improve their relationship with technology, to improve their mental well-being, their physical well-being, social and emotional, and just all round just making people feel more in control. And again, a really, really important and challenging topic for working moms who have just got all of the things, they're wearing all of the hats. So I'd really encourage people to take part, because it can be a really nice way to start this journey.
Well, me and my team have signed up to it, and we've all committed that on that day we are going to be taking time out. So we're going to be joining you for that campaign. And I think, it's a really, really important, particularly when you're doing it, as you say, after after Black Friday and all of that, when people are probably going to be even more on technology. I think that's brilliant marketing and timing. Yeah. We've covered so much, and I know people are going to want to find out more about you, your organisation, and your work. Could you share with us where's best to kind of find and follow you? And I'll put all the notes in the links in the show notes.
Absolutely, yeah. So you can head to our website, which is techtimeout.co.uk. You can also find us on the social media channels. So we're on Instagram as techtime_out, and we're on LinkedIn as well, depending on the platform that you like. We're definitely not on TikTok, or we don't use that channel very much. It just doesn't work. I just disagree with it. Fully. It's so addictive. And I had to uninstall it myself because I just found it just so addictive. So yeah, that one's gone. But yeah, you can definitely find us on the website. And there's all sorts of resources on there for you to check us out.
Yeah, there are amazing free resources. So thank you for everything you're doing, Stephanie, and for the work that you're putting out into the world, because, it's a great reminder for us all, but also it's kind of helping undo the behaviours and the culture, which is so needed. So thank you.
Thanks so much for the invite. It's been lovely speaking to you today.
If you've enjoyed this episode of Wisdom for Working Mums, please share it on social media and with your friends and family. I'd love to connect with you too. So if you head over to wisdomforworkingmums.co.uk, you'll find a link on how to do this. And if you love the show and really want to support it, please go to iTunes, write a review and subscribe. You'll be helping another working mum find this resource too. Thanks so much for listening.